Hey guys, so we are here to talk about actually a watch that means quite a bit to me, you know, Wei.
Me too.
Oh yeah, actually,
Yeah.
you're right. He was actually there when this model, this Inception,
Okay,
Inception year.
I put it to you this way: what are the albums that you remember the most?
Mostly 90s canto pop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like Andy Lau and stuff like that.
For me, it is probably Bruce Springsteen's "Greetings from Ashbury Park" was like the first, or "Born to Run." Like these two albums, when I heard them, it was just like mind blowing, right? This is like a kind of sophistication of phrase that is incredibly poetic, but with like a subject matter that's like incredibly relatable from an American like kind of grassroots blue collar perspective, but articulated in a way that's just extraordinary, you know? That's just so evocative. So I remember that. I remember also the first time I listened to Van Morrison's Astral Weeks. That was an album that like it was so profoundly romantic and tragic. And these guys are creating these music, like these guys are creating these albums when they're in their early 20s, right?
Wow.
Like, can you imagine like to have that level of maturity in terms of your voice, in terms of your creative ability, your compositional ability to create things that now 50 years later, or you know, that they resonate as powerfully today as they did over half a century ago. Right? Yeah, it's just extraordinarily poetic rock and roll, right? But at the same time, I remember the first time I listened to like Straight Outta Compton, you know,
I know this my era, bro.
You know,
NWA, bro. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like because it's so unique, right? There's a singularity to those voices, right? And there was nothing like NWA. And then when NWA came out, it created its own genre, right?
Gangster rap.
And that has become, it was such a profoundly influential genre that everyone jumped on that for a full decade, right?
For sure,
and even today, it still resonates super powerfully. So in the context of watches, there are certain watches that they are completely disruptive. You have no idea what the hell you're looking at. They're so unique, but yet there's a singularity of voices there that is like there's before you've seen that watch and there's after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It changes your perspective completely, and the Royal Oak Offshore is one of those.
Yeah.
Right. And I brought my 5402 as well because in the context of 1972, when this genre of watch was created by Audemars Piguet, by Georges Gollet, and the incredible Gerald Genta, this is a watch that's really expressing a shift in terms of lifestyle.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You're talking about the birth of the elite. They're kind of going to all of the south of France or the Amalfi Coast.
Riviera gentlemen's
Yeah,
times.
exactly, right?
Yeah.
And you wanted to have a watch that's as chic in the swimming pool or by the beach as it is in the black tie dinner. And you have this beautiful watch that is a kind of piece of formed art for the wrist, right?
Very thin.
And it's very elegant, right? So the thing with this watch is it's 39 mm in terms of its diameter, but it feels larger because anything with an integration of bracelet has a bit of an overhang as well, right? But it's contrasted by the fact that it's slim, right? It's what, about 8 mm in terms of thickness?
7 something.
Yeah, exactly. So you see that on your wrist, and it has this extraordinary sort of like dynamic contrast between this forceful presence when you look at it this way, and then this sort of extraordinary like lithe elegance when you turn it to its profile.
I mean, other than starting a whole new language in this, especially during the 70s, was a turmoil time for Swiss watch industry. You know, and AP being the leader of really trying to bring back desirability of watches again, went for something so risky like the Royal Oak deal. That we of course got to give credit to them. And this look at now, it started the whole freaking, like what you say, like the same analogy of music. They create a singular voice, and everybody has a bit of that kind of flavor.
Right.
You know?
So it's just completely unique. There was nothing like it. In fact, it gave birth to an entire genre of watches, which we all know what the other ones are.
Until today, bro.
Yeah, and to this day, and probably to this day also, because today the way people dress is very relaxed, right? So the idea of being super adaptable in terms of casualness and then going to some place like that's more luxurious as well. The sort of like transversal nature of an integrated bracelet sport chic watch really appeals to that. But this is the 70s. It's an era of hedonism, liberalness, sensuality, there's some upheaval in terms of the oil crisis that happens in the mid-70s as well. And then you shift into the 1980s and the world changes, right? And you have, for the first time in a while, like economic optimism, right? You know, you have this huge surge in Wall Street. You have this era of like, you know, the Gordon Geckos. This is like the Wall Street movie as well. This concept of greed is good. And in the context of that, there is also people are living life like larger than ever, right?
Yeah.
And it's in this context that the idea of the Royal Oak Offshore is it has its genesis, right? The story that we're told by AP is that in 1986, AP sponsors an offshore cigarette boat racing.
Okay.
Right? So actually a team that they had sponsored had already won first place, right? And then AP decides to start its own race as well, and Prince Albert from Monaco was one of the participants as well, right? So if you can imagine, it's 1986, people have that like Don Johnson feathered hair, right? Maybe not Prince Albert, because I think he didn't have that much hair, right?
But I get it, yeah, the 80s style.
Yeah, you know, you're in your cigarette boat, you've got this, in your mind, this booming soundtrack of like Phil Collins, you know, like the Miami Vice kind of soundtrack, right? It's and the idea of a watch that has the design underpinnings of the Royal Oak is there, but it wants to respond to this larger than life era. It's kind of like the transformation of the Porsche 911 into the 911 Turbo, right?
I see.
So you go from, which is one of the most iconic sports cars of the day, but a relatively elegant, slim, small car.
Exactly,
You take that same car and you expand the wheel arches, right? So it's got this crazy hourglass shape to it, right? It's almost like a cartoon.
A small package of huge firepower.
Then you put this huge whale tail on the back of it as well, right? Then you stick a turbo in there that basically takes a while to spool up, so nothing happens for a couple of seconds, and then when the turbo finally hits, you're hurtling forward in space in the most uncontrollable manner, but that's what people want, right?
Exactly.
And that's what they want from this watch. How do you go from there to this, to the beast? Well, so from what I understand, there was a request from their German head of market. He writes a letter to Stephen Urquhart, who's the CEO of AP at the time, and he's like, Steven, that's just my German accent. We need like a Royal Oak, but like macho, you know, like sexy and macho, right?
Okay. Also, he requested actually.
Well, actually, funnily, I don't think it was specifically meant to be a Royal Oak, right? Because AP then registered the name Offshore because they wanted to create a watch with this kind of like macho, hyper-resistant kind of design.
It's a good name actually.
Associated with cigarette boat racing.
I see.
But somehow it became the Royal Oak that was the platform that decided to sort of put the offshore onto it, right?
Okay.
And so the very famous story is that Stephen Urquhart tapped a young designer named Emmanuel Guillet, who we love, who's an amazing guy, right? Who worked a lot with their creative director, who was Jacqueline Dimier. Brilliant woman as well.
Great,
right? And Emmanuel Guillet, which is really funny because if you look at his body of work, Emmanuel Guillet is really famous for beautiful, very elegant shaped watches. But somehow, I guess he must have been thinking of
creating a
this kind of like insane looking, slightly demonic looking watch. and he created the Offshore, right? And the Offshore was berserk looking in the context of 1993 when it was introduced. In fact, I think it was meant to be introduced in 1992 for the 20th anniversary of the Royal Oak. But they had some issues in terms of the rubber-clad pushers and crown, right? So it ended up being a year later.
Got it,
So think about it from this perspective. So I've got my beast over here. So you've taken a watch that was 39 mm in terms of diameter, and you've made it now 42 mm, right? But maybe more incredibly, you've taken a watch that was 7 point something mm in terms of thickness, and it's now over 14 mm. It's double the thickness of this, right? And it was just insane looking, right? Absolutely crazy looking. So much so that when it was launched, Gerald Genta went to the booth and said, "You've killed my baby." Right?
God.
You know that scene in The Godfather where Don Corleone is like standing in front of the body of Sonny Corleone and he says, look how they've massacred my boy.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's basically what Gerald Genta was saying. He's like, you have killed my baby.
Yeah.
What are you doing, right?
But I get it in the context when if I see this that's transformed from what I've created, then I will be mad and want to kill someone as well, you know.
But okay, it was also from a functional perspective a crazy resistant watch as well. You have AP, which is one of the Holy Trinity super refined watches. No one from the Holy Trinity is trying to make something like this.
Nothing,
It's 100 meters water resistant, right? It has part of its elements like the functional parts of the watch. So you see a huge visible rubber gasket between the bezel and the body of the watch. You've got rubber-clad pushers and also a crown here as well. It has a soft iron inner case as well, it's amagnetic.
Very cool.
And then one of the things about the watch, which is interesting, because I think at some point Jacques Piguet had proposed that they use the Piguet 1185 or 86.
Yes, 85, yeah.
But they didn't, right? They actually ended up using that movement later for the Royal Oak Chrono.
Yes.
They used the same movement that goes in here, which is the Jaeger.
This is the 920.
920 or 889 in AP speak.
Yeah. Or 2121.
Or 21, but then they put a Dubois Duprem module on top of it as well. So this creates an immense distance from the dial of the watch to where the underlying base caliber is. And so Emmanuel Guillet puts a big loop on there, right? Which gives you this very distinct offshore look that when you look at it, there's this magnifying effect for the date wheel, which is all the way, like basically 10 mm away from the dial. Right?
No, I get it why the date looks kind of weird when I look at it.
It is kind of, well,
away.
now they've changed it, but in the OG offshores, there was always that weird Cyclops effect, right? And that was part of the movement, right? That was, it was basically, and actually interestingly, if you look at the original designs of Guillet's offshore, and we'll put it up on the screen here, he actually had the Cyclops as a bubble on top, right?
Exactly. That was the original one.
Right.
Original
but then they put it underneath as well,
see.
because from a functionality perspective, probably he was afraid people would knock it off or
Make
damage
it even
it.
more beast-like. Now I need to tone down.
Exactly. So when I first saw the offshore, and I want to say, so in 1993 when it was launched, I had just come out of the Army.
Bro,
Here in Singapore.
I was born, bro.
Yeah, you were born. My wife was 2 years old, and I was headed to Montana to go work in a cattle ranch.
Okay.
Right.
So
I actually was relatively oblivious about the offshore until 1999, when I went to go see a movie called The End of Days.
Right?
And this is an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he's fighting demons. I think there's famous for a line like "Get back, Satan," something along the lines of that. And in this movie, which unfortunately was not a very successful movie from either a critical or commercial perspective, I saw the coolest watch I've ever seen. So on Arnold's wrist was a Royal Oak Offshore.
That's right.
On a ballistic strap, blacked out with yellow elements, and it was, from my perspective, the coolest freaking thing I'd ever seen in my life, right? And I was like, dude, one day I gotta own that watch, right?
It's like 48 mm or something like that.
No, this is later. So then when he started doing the Terminator movies, like so T3, he wears a massive Royal Oak Offshore. But this was the original Beast, just black coated, right? In 42 mm, right? With the original configuration and so on. Because he was befriended by François Benamias, who was the head of America at the time. And he came to AP to visit them, and then this collaboration was born as a result of that, right? Now, eventually I did end up owning the End of Days, and this is in the very initial phase of blacked out watches, right? So today, because of ceramic, and there's an incredible offshore that's made in black ceramic, right? And it's one of my favorite watches actually that's available on the market today, but it's essentially scratch proof, right? Because it's ceramic, unless you attack it with a diamond. But in the early era of black watches, where people were using PVD or physical vapor deposition, it was a very imperfect technology.
That's right.
Panerai had exactly the same issue during this period. And that black coating was so fragile that if you breathed on it wrong,
you can scratch it.
It would scratch it.
And you will see the underlying material.
Exactly. So that was the issue with that watch. It was super robust looking. It was super badass looking.
But you need to take care
But
of it.
ironically, it was quite fragile. So even though I think I actually had 2 or 3 of those.
What the
but I
fuck?
became quite tired of like, because you're always looking for a better quality one with less scratches. But then you have this really cool badass looking watch, you know?
Badass
But
looking.
you're like, don't touch my watch. So,
that's quite annoying for sure.
but nonetheless, the Royal Oak Offshore was a watch that from very early on completely captured my imagination. And I have to say, so in 2001, they did something even more audacious, which was they started to rubber coat parts of the watch, right? Not just the pushers and the crown, right? But also the bezel.
Yes, that's right.
And people talk about like Hublot being the first brand to combine rubber and precious metal, but from my perspective, the one that I remember the most was AP. And the first rubber-clad offshores, which were created in 2001, were mind-blowingly cool. And the very first watch I bought when I became a watch journalist, well, the first was a Panerai. The first one, like luxury watch I bought, and I think I had put my entirety of my life savings into it, was a pink gold rubber-clad Royal Oak Offshore with the black rubber bezel on rose gold on a black rubber. It was so cool looking. It had the Grand tapestry motif, which you see in the new offshores as well. And I wore that watch in 2004 to Michael Tay's Tempest.
Oh yeah, his watch fair back then.
And everyone that I met went crazy over this watch. Jean-Claude Biver, who was in the process of formulating the Big Bang, looked at it and said, "This is so cool," right? Philippe Dufour, who like I showed him that watch because he was like, "Show me your watch." I was like, "This is so cool." Vianney Halter, same thing. I showed him the watch. Felix Baumgartner, like everyone was like, "What the hell are you wearing? Let me see that," because it was so provocative, right? And I just absolutely adored that watch. Okay, so basically, the Royal Oak Offshore is, I would say, the pioneer of massive, oversized, hyper robust, but very high luxury watches, executed at the highest level. And I love that watch for it because it's so much a part of like basically my formative experience in watches.
Yep. I think that watch itself, that one that you had, the rose gold with the rubber bezel, is, and like everybody look at the watch. The watch world today is very saturated, but back then, you know, Royal Oak Offshore was a very important watch for me because I was not born in the era of Royal Oaks, and when I started getting into watches, the offshore was it.
Yeah,
It's like,
it was the coolest thing possible.
Either you got a Rolex GMT or sub. If not, you got an
Right.
offshore. You know what I
you
mean?
got an offshore.
And that rubber-clad one in rose gold is super iconic for us. And that's something that I always wanted to own. And I eventually bought an offshore chrono in black ceramic bezel.
Oh, nice.
Called the Dark Knight.
Yes.
I still remember the reference, 26470, I remember. And that was a little bit of the tribute to the piece that you actually own.
Yes.
But I couldn't afford rose gold, so I went for steel. But I had that watch, and I still have that watch today actually. Man, it wears so big, and it's like you're the man, you know.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes. So what I want to talk about also is that during this period, let's say from early 2000s to 2001, from the rubber-clad to like 2010, as you put it, you have this incredible period of material innovation that's happening as well, right? Actually, you can go back, I think it's in the late 90s, I want to say around 96 or 98, that they came out with the offshore in full titanium.
Yeah,
right?
oh my God,
Right?
yes.
So you have this incredible sort of like polar extreme, right? Because you have a full gold offshore, right, which is about 400 grams, right?
Yes.
You have a platinum offshore, which is I think 431 grams,
insane,
right? Like this is with the full bracelet. So you're like wearing over a pound or you're wearing a pound on your wrist, right? I think they called it the pounder, right? and then at the same time, you have a full titanium offshore, which is 150 grams.
Wow.
Which even from today's perspective, for a full bracelet watch, is very light.
Yeah.
And we have a friend, Liam.
Yeah, owns the full titanium one.
And he's cycling around Singapore with this watch on his wrist, which is incredible, right?
Wow.
So, okay, so there's this amazing focus on material and design innovation as well, right? So everything that's futuristic and avant-garde is being focused into the offshore. So you have 2 collaborations, which I absolutely love. 2005, you have the collaboration with AP and Juan Pablo Montoya.
Okay.
Right? And you have like carbon fiber inlays on the bezel.
I remember that.
Right, on the pushers. And then you have the Rubens Barrichello as well in 2006. So these series with these drivers are really cool because you start to see a lot of the kind of F1 themed stuff that you associate with Richard Mille a lot, you know, but really going into the offshore, and it looks, these watches, the Montoya and the Barrichello, from my perspective, are still incredible looking.
You know what is my favorite collab? The Michael Schumacher.
The Schumacher watch is phenomenal.
Amazing, man. Oh my God, yeah.
Right. So then one of my favorite watches, which I actually owned as well, was the very first full forged carbon case watch ever made in the Swiss watch industry.
Really?
And that was the Royal Oak Offshore Alinghi team. Right?
Oh shit, you have the Alinghi one.
Yes, well I had the Alinghi team, yes, exactly.
I also have a forged carbon one, okay?
Right,
I have the Diver 15706 Bumblebee.
Very, very cool watch.
Right, yeah.
The Bumblebee is very cool.
Yeah.
Right. So you have now the application of materials like full forged carbon fiber, and you have to understand in the context of 2007 when that came out is absolutely nuts. Like it's crazy that someone actually did that, right? And then you have like incredible design happening as well. It starts to get more and more extreme.
Yep.
There is a watch called the Survivor. I don't remember that.
I don't know.
So it's got trigger guards.
Oh, fuck. I remember, yeah.
That was made by Octavio Garcia, right? Who's now over at Gerald Charles, but really cool designer. And then you have the increase in terms of size also, right? So the sizes start getting bigger and bigger. I think you mentioned the T3. I think that was one of the biggest ones. I forgot. I think it's around 48 mm.
48 mm.
But the offshore also becomes the first watch that really creates an intersection with popular culture. And one of the first collaborations with anyone in music, or contemporary music, and a watch brand is the AP Offshore created for Jay-Z. Right?
Oh wow!
So this is like back in the days. I think it's around 2005,
no idea
even like something around there.
Early, I guess.
Yeah, and there's 3 colorways that are done with diamond set number 10s, and it comes with an iPod with all of Jay-Z's music on it.
iPod, dude. Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So the offshore is really cool to me because, again, one of the things I've always respected about AP is without never losing who it is, it's always like looking at what's happening in contemporary culture and sometimes even leading the way and taking all of those influences and injecting them into watches in the best way possible, right? It doesn't live in isolation. It's not in an ivory tower. It's out there, having fun, understanding the zeitgeist, even being the zeitgeist.
Yeah,
so
that's super cool, dude. Yeah, wow.
Right. So let's talk about, like, there's various different options for the offshore that are created over the next couple of eras. You'd mentioned the scuba. The interesting thing about the scuba was it was created as a piece only for retailers initially, right? Really? So it was initially created, I think, around 2008, I want to say, for Boucherer, Boucherer. Boucherer, and then there was another edition made for one of the retailers, and then I think they made one for their own boutique.
Got it.
One of their boutiques, and then finally in 2010, it enters into the mass market. The regular production. Regular production.
I remember the very first, the steel with the black dial diver, which is the reference 15703, if I'm not wrong.
And it actually is a super functional watch. It's water resistant to 300 meters. It has a screw down crown here, but then it has a inner bezel here,
bezel
right?
adjuster,
It's a really cool, and it also becomes kind of a lot like the first offshore for a lot of people as well.
Exactly.
It's the most accessibly priced.
God, yes,
right?
exactly.
You know? There are also offshores that are made in the 1990s that like the complete calendar and the funky different colors.
There is a perpetual calendar offshore.
I love this.
Dude,
but there is even, if you want to talk about complicated offshores, they even put a minute repeater, split-second chronograph, perpetual calendar offshore. It's a point. So there's a huge, they have a lot of fun with the offshore family. Then you kind of transition into this period of the kind of next generation of offshores, which are bigger. They're around 43 mm, right? Yeah. But so you're in between 2010 and 2020. This is kind of the era of the new offshore, right? So Grand Tapestry motif, 43 mm in terms of diameter.
No, 42 and 44 first.
42 and so 44.
44 was 42 was launched with the original Beast and then evolved.
Okay, so 2010 to 2020, you have the larger size offshore. You go into 44 mm.
Up to 44 mm.
So it's funny because the watch that I'm wearing on my wrist actually is not an original Beast. Right?
Yes.
but it's not the re-edition of the Beast in 2017.
Okay.
And it's not the Beast re-entering regular production in 2021.
Interesting. So what is this?
It's the missing link, right? It's from 2013 and it's a 20-piece limited edition. So as someone that has always loved the offshore, as someone who actually owned an original Beast, I think I went to my first Basel Fair wearing a Beast.
Nice.
Right? I would really wanted to find like that watch again, right?
Okay.
But then I was like, shit, I wonder if I could convince AP to do something a little radical, right? To take the in-house movement, the 3120,
Okay.
and replace the Jaeger Calibre and combine that with the Dubois de Prada module and make an open caseback watch, right?
Whoa, okay.
But only change that and everything else would look exactly like the original Beast. And maybe I could convince them to do that for the 30th anniversary of the offshore.
Wow.
So I approached Oliviero Bottinelli, who is the managing director of Southeast Asia. Well, Oliviero Bottinelli, more than that, he's on the board of director, and his family is one of the shareholders of AP as well. And he's really the guy that spearheaded the popularity of AP in our region, right? And he said, you know what, that's kind of a good idea. Let me go and talk to the CEO at the time. I think it was Georges-Henri Mélan, right? And they came back and he said, okay, we'll make a 20-piece limited edition of that, right? So this is number one from that 20-piece limited edition.
Wow.
And I remember we had a dinner here in Singapore in 2013. Then we all went to go watch the Singapore F1. And we all were wearing these watches on our wrists as well.
That's really nice.
And there's even I think there was the guy that created this website called Royal Oak Club as well came down, and he gave everyone his this book of like reference.
Oh, that's very cool.
His reference book on offshores as well. And so this is cool because it combines the Dubois de Prada module and the 3120.
Yeah.
So you still have that kind of like optical effect of the date being very far back, right? But now it's using the in-house.
Really the tribute of the original Beast, but with the current in-house.
Correct. So in 2017, then they launched a limited edition of the reissue of the Beast with the same movement, 3120, with the Dubois de Prada module.
Wow, so exactly like this.
But with a solid caseback.
Yeah.
Yes.
They close it back again.
2017 was solid caseback, right? And I think they did it also because you could then keep the Faraday cage for the A magnet because it's not A magnetic.
I mean, it's a real tribute anyway. Yeah.
And then in 2021, when they brought the Beast back, now it was with a different movement. It was with their in-house Calibre 4404.
4404,
which is what we see in the current versions of the Royal Oak Offshore.
The facelift 42mm.
Okay, so this is what I love about what AP has done, right? Is they've gone back to the original size of the Beast of the Royal Oak Offshore in 42mm, right? I actually don't know what the thickness of it is. Maybe we can bring the calipers on here as well. Actually, I can compare it to this.
It's around the same.
It's around the same, right?
But with a much better in-house manufacturing
so
movement.
The first thing that you'll see is when you look at the date, there's not that same effect of the date wheel being all the way at the back of the movement. And why? Because it's not modular anymore. It's an integrated chronograph movement with not only integrated chronograph movement, but also column wheel and flyback. That's right. Which is quite remarkable.
So they launched this first movement with the 43mm offshores with the Calibre 4401, which is just the first ever flyback integrated in-house manufactured chronograph column wheel chronograph movement. And of course, when this was launched, they evolved it with the 4404, as you mentioned. With a different kind of configuration on the registers and sub-seconds.
Yeah, so in the old watches, basically you have the sub-seconds at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Right? And then you have the hour counter at 6 and then the minute counter at 12.
That's right. Yeah.
What is it in the new watches?
So new watch, you have a swap of the hours and the sub-seconds. So 12, hour counter is at 12 o'clock, and then you have the small seconds at 6 o'clock, and then the minute counter has changed to 9 o'clock. So we have 3 new colors, also 3 new configuration. All 3 actually, other than different colors, some of them are in different materials.
I love this, right?
What is the one you're wearing?
It's black and pink.
Oh, nice.
And if you look at the bicycles behind me, right, there's a pink Dogma up there, and then a black and pink Giro d'Italia Dogma over there. So I love pink is one of my favorite colors, and I love the combination of black and pink. And I have to say, what's really great about it is when I look at this relative to the Beast, it's the same watch but elevated through nuances, right? So the date being much more visible, the fact that it's got this integrated chronograph movement, the fact that you've got a flyback function, which is one of my favorite functions of watchmaking. Cool. And then when you flip it over and you look at the see-through caseback as well,
It's really, really nice though.
I mean, that's a gorgeous movement.
If you remember the 3120, 2126 movement, right?
Yeah.
With the Pras modular, the full rotor and the engraved full rotor. But now you look at the new movement, the 4404, also the 4401 has the same architecture. It's skeletonized with rotor, and then honestly, the movement is very well done.
Dude,
Yeah.
am I correct? This is vertical clutch?
This is vertical clutch.
So,
yeah.
you know, one thing that I will say about the original Beast is that the Dubois Duprat module, which has been around since 1969, right?
Oh, wow.
Is
yeah, exactly. It's been a while for a long time.
It's not the most robust chronograph mechanism in the world, right?
Yeah,
and
not really.
a lot of offshores would experience something called chronograph backlash. Basically, when the meshing of the chronograph wheel and the drive wheel are not precise, and the chronograph seconds hand would jump back a little bit.
Yeah.
So what I love about this is that you've got all the really cool vibes of the old watch, but you have an incredible movement in here, right? So you've got, first of all, automatic movement. Then you look at the balance wheel, and you can see it's a full traversing balance bridge, which is super stable,
Nice, yeah.
right? It's a free sprung balance, column wheel, vertical clutch, and flyback, right?
Yes.
So you have a movement in here that is really as high performance as the entirety of the watch as well, which I really love.
It's a massive upgrade for sure.
Absolutely. And then, yeah, just the styling of it is great. You know, Grand Tapestry motif. You know, for me, just because I am an old and nostalgic guy, I would love it if they would do the Petit Tapestry motif or bring that back. But I have to say, this is really cool. And to be fair, my rose gold rubber clad had a big tapestry motif.
I think it was introduced with the offshore, you know,
Yes.
the mega tapestry because of the look of the watch.
Yes.
Bro, putting this on my wrist, right? Yes, the color is different, but it brings back a lot of the old memories when I owned the early offshore divers and the
This is
the
a
first
great
ceramic
watch,
offshore
actually.
chrono.
You know, okay, so the interesting thing is, let's talk about sizes, right? Because there is obviously a trend right now for smaller size watches. And I kind of think about it in the following way, right? I think that in a certain context, there's a classic dimension for kind of a men's dress watch, right? And that's somewhere between 36 and 39, or 36.5 to 39.5, I would say,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
36.5, like 1860, right? You know, and 39.5, many watches, honestly, right?
Yeah.
But that having been said, there are certain watches, like larger watches, that I really love. And you have to bear in mind also that, you know, you see now people wearing smaller and smaller watches. So you see guys wearing like 33 watches, and that's cool. And I love the fact that we're in an era where people can wear whatever they want. And they feel happy, no problem. But I feel that that's as much of a byproduct of trend as the 48 watches were 15 years ago, right?
Yep.
So when you have the swing to extremes, right? Invariably, to me, that's people kind of testing the
limits
of that trend.
Yeah.
But I think that the pendulum swings back and forth, right? You see this also. It's funny because there's an African saying where I think it's like that which the father forgets, the grandson remembers, right?
Wow.
But it's true, right? Like, you know, if you think about it, like the whole idea of small watches was so uncool, right, 10 years ago, but
oh my God,
was exactly the trend in the 80s and 90s, right? Like if you look at the Breguet watches that were made, actually Blancpain is a good example. Remember the first Blancpain Flying Tourbillon, 34 right? And so there is this kind of trend now that people are going back to that era, and everything happens in cycles.
Exactly.
I would say through that also there are certain icons of specific sizes that should just be that size.
Yes,
and the
I
Royal
agree.
Oak Offshore has this singularity of design, this originality of concept, this power in its original size at 42
Exactly,
right? And it's perfect for me.
AP also give you some choices if you have a larger wrist or you want the more extravagant design of the offshore. They still have the 43 with the new 4401 flyback. I think it's a successor of the 2011 44
Yeah.
So you do have a range of sizes, but that's the best thing about that. You have choices.
Yeah, and it's also, you know, people now like are so focused on like experiencing life in the best way possible, right? So everyone now is kind of like wanting to do incredible hikes, or experience, learn surfing, or, you know, go to Bali or Hawaii, or go trekking somewhere, you know. And I love the idea that you can actually wear a genuinely awesome luxury watch even in that context.
And you can do
right?
Well,
I mean, it will get scratched up probably.
Yeah, but
that's
that's the DNA and the mission of the offshore, bro.
But yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. And I just love that. Like this is really, this is an awesome watch. And the colorways, there's this optimism to them that makes me smile.
Yeah.
I like, the idea of the offshore also being a super inclusive watch, that it's not a watch that's meant for, a guy can wear it, a woman can wear it, anyone can wear it, right? Any age can wear it as well, and the colorways just make me smile, right?
Dude, the colorways are really quite interesting, man. So we do have the newest three offshore in 42mm chronographs. So the one on my is in. So what material is the pink one on? Steel?
It's steel, yeah.
So this is also in steel, the orange one. And you realize something? The start-stop button on the chronograph has changed into the motif of the second hands and the sub-dials colors, just to give you, I guess, a nod to tell you which is the start and stop button.
Or just to look cool.
Right, just to look cool. Additional pop of colors. So this too is in steel, right? The orange motif and the pink. But the one that I have on my wrist with the gray and the turquoise with the beautiful neon yellow is in titanium.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so try this on. Dude, this is really nice. I really like
that's
how
cool.
it feels. So there is a nice, even within the same collection, AP also give you the choice of the materials as well, and of course if you want ceramic, there is also ceramics, but this one I think is the true DNA of what the offshore should be after 30 years, bro.
No one does a better job at vertical brushing contrasted by polished bevels than AP.
Yeah.
It just is so well executed.
Yeah.
Right?
And it shines the reflection of the light plays, and it comes and you see the whole vertical brushing on the top of the bezel, which is freaking amazing, to be honest.
Well, that's it, guys. That's our walk through memory lane for the Royal Oak Offshore. It certainly has been really fun for me, nostalgic as well. And I have to say, I love these new 42mm executions. The weight of the titanium is incredible.
I tell you,
it's incredible. It's just so effortless to wear.
I put it on throughout the whole video. I don't feel anything, bro.
And I like these quick release straps that they're putting on here as well, right? But I would say the colorway of the black
really
and pink steel one, that's the one for me.
Definitely, offshores to me, right? It's so much nostalgic and all that, but I still feel that there is a very strong place of offshore being a watch that you can really consider, I think, for a day-to-day watch.
Yeah.
And honestly, what is more iconic than this, bro? This is it, man, for 2010 until today, and it should be, and it should still be
phenomenal. Yeah,
and I think that have not changed.
You've convinced me, Constant. I'm gonna wear my beast for the rest of the month. It's okay.
All right, so thank you very much for watching, guys, hope you like it. All right, some deep dives and some nostalgic lane, and he's much older than me, so he remembers all of it. But this is
thanks, I guess.
Anyway, I'll see you guys next time, and thank you for watching.